Right off that rail trail, I've come across one of the coolest and most unique culverts I've ever seen. You're going to learn all about it in this video. Behind me are some train cars. I wanted to show those because it's in relation to what we're doing today. Today, I'm riding on a rail trail. My first time ever. It's known as the Upper Bucks Rail Trail. And it actually went all the way from Philadelphia to Bethlehem Steel. And that direction that we're going is Bethlehem Steel. It's known as the Upper Bucks Rail Trail, and further down it's going to turn to the Saucun Rail Trail. And I'm being accompanied by none other than RJ78 Productions, and we're out on our Highboy S2 Pro scooters. That's the one he got from me, and that's mine, which you've seen in numerous videos, and it's actually my first time riding it in a number of months. And we have a decent day here in February. It's in the upper 40s, a little bit breezy, but as you know, I do love rail trails because there's a lot of history tied to them, and you never know what you'll see along the way. Any information I can find, I will provide links down below in the description. Otherwise, I invite you to come along with us to see what we can find along this rail trail. So where we're riding on right now is not actually the rail trail. This is a connection put in by Richland Township, and where we started is Veterans Park. And we're going to be crossing up here and eventually picking up the actual rail trail itself. RJ did state it was a former Reading line, also Conrail ran on it, but again, I will try to find some links to websites with more detailed information, and you can look up for yourself to get any more details or info. So our first sign of evidence is some abandoned rails. There's actually two sets of them right here, completely overgrown. And past this, where we did the intro, is where those rail cars are sitting on what is basically a holding line at this point, but it terminates into this. Now these rails would have continued under the road, which they actually are paved over. Still see the little humps of them, and then it went straight across, and that's going to be the actual rail trail itself. So just to kind of put things into perspective, this is what it used to look like, and we're going to be riding on the rail line itself. And there's actually something over there too that RG pointed out, and we'll check that out right now. So right here we do have the base of a crossing signal. Would have went down across the road, obviously. Still got the electrical component inside of it there. So this would have been supplemental power if the power went out to provide power for that signal or the crossing gate itself. So we've seen these before on different Bartram Rail Trail and possibly Ironton. So it's basically just a box. Would have had batteries in there connected up, has a covering on it, and it's always in the vicinity of either a signal or a crossing gate, which in this case the crossing gate's right there. And here's our first telegraph pole, complete with insulators. We've got white, the bluish green ones, and some clear ones. And they're still up there as well. So I'm sure we'll probably see more of those along the way. And this was, as we saw, a double line, which later on converted into a single line, but we did see the abandoned double section over there. didn't make it too far. We already found more stuff. You can see there's actually a rock cut section here and clear evidence that we're on the rail line. But just off to the side here, right in front of RJ, is a little support post. So it had a pipe coming out of it. So there would have been some type of signal or something to do with the rail line. And it's a gravel trail. It's not paved, but it's not terribly difficult to ride on or to walk on. We've come across several people so far on bikes, on foot, and I think we're the only ones out here today on our scooters. But I'm not going to show you each and every little thing like that just because they're kind of mundane. You know, you see one, you see a few of them. So I'm going to be kind of saving moments for more substantial stuff. He did say there are some unique things to say, whether it's rail related or nature related or something else, but you guys know I always try to show you the best of the best, but you never know what we're going to come across, and that's the best part of these, is that it's unexpected and unknown, and you're going to see it for the first time just like me. Did come across some drill markings too on one of the rock walls there, and we're coming across some kind of wet conditions where it's shady. There's some little puddles of water, so we're having to navigate slowly. But other than that, it's favorable conditions. More windy than I would like, but all in all, it's doable. Especially here in February, you know. There's no snow, it's not sub-freezing, so if that's the worst of it, I could take it. So we came upon a spot of interest here, just traveled down the line here, and we're passing numerous telegraph poles, again loaded with the insulators, but they're just out of reach, so they're kind of taunting us. But
why they're still loaded.
Yeah, that's why they're still there. No one could get to them. But this is actually a bridge here, and it's a Reading bridge. And the one thing I learned from RJ, which he learned from Nick of Nick's Crossing, is that based on the design of the railings, you could tell which rail line they were for. So with this one, it comes straight down in the back, curves in the front. That's a Reading rail line bridge.
And then the Pensy was straight on both sides.
Pensy was straight.
It looked almost the same, but it was straight on both sides.
All right, so like always, we're always trying to learn and educate ourselves, and information gets passed along. I'm welcome to share it with you guys.
There should be a date diamond on here too.
Oh yeah. 1916. It's got the stamp right there, the Reading stamp. So that dates this bridge to 107 years old as of the making of this video. And obviously it's created for the water flow. But the original railings right here. So I made a little discovery here which RJ helped to fill in the blanks. I noticed some stamping on the inside of the railing. It looked like a P8RRR. It's actually P and R, Philadelphia and Reading Railroad. So that's the stamping to confirm that, and kind of gives the age to it as well. And this is just on the other side, and this railing's in worse condition, but those little stampings are still there. Just up ahead, there's something else of interest besides some more telegraph poles, which I'm not going to show you all of them. RJ said there's actually loads of them on this trail, but there actually is a old signal up here, so it's only a short distance up, and we'll check that out next. There's the bridge we just came from, and as mentioned, there is a signal tower. This one is for the most part intact and complete. It does have the ladder and the little platform up there. Now it's not facing the proper direction. It actually is pushed in facing that way, but typically, traditionally, would have been facing towards the rail line itself for the oncoming trains. But it is still up there, and right here as a piece of history along this section of rail trail. And also looking too, there's numerous old rail ties here, so more evidence that rails once existed in this area. Now earlier, if you remember, we spotted a similar foundation like this, like a support post. I said it was right in front of RJ. We're pretty confident it was another signal tower like this because it's basically the same size base, and it had the pipe that was cut, the pole here. So there's one facing this direction, and the one that we saw was facing this direction. So two different signals at 2 different points, but 100% that's what it is. And the other thing I noticed too is actually a little spire on top. It's kind of at a point. I'm not sure if that's maybe to keep birds off of it, although there's plenty of other room for birds up there, or if it's a more of a decorative element, but it does have a little spire on top, a little rounded point, almost like the top of a castle turret of sorts. So we have our next crossing. We can just imagine we're a train approaching. I also hear a little placard here, Upper Bucks Rail Trail. Shelly Station, a dot on the map. This is the town of Shelly, which makes sense based on the name of that. North Pennsylvania Railroad, NPRR. And as mentioned, Philadelphia to Bethlehem rail line became operable in 1857. 1879, Philadelphia and Reading Railroad acquired the NPRR. And there's more information. I'm going to take a still shot of this, and if you guys want to pause the video, you're welcome to read up on it. So we made a few observations between the both of us. We were able to figure it out. So right here, this postcard, 1910, we're essentially standing right here, and we're able to confirm a few things. Now, if you look in the background, there's two homes, one with a single window, one with a double window. Well, if you look, single window one right there with the chimney, double window right there. So the train station would have been essentially right here. Another observation by RJ is that this is the 1915 post office / general store. And that building is still here, and it is actually right there. The front, yeah, it's apartments now. The front has changed with the steps, but you still see the double windows, still identical shape, and that was here back when the rail line was operable. So we're able to see things from the past mixed in with the present. We're passing over another bridge as we speak. No railings on it, but it's pretty much identical to the one we showed earlier with the railings. And I want to do a shameless plug. If you do enjoy these rail trail videos, I will have a playlist down below with other rail trail videos. And this year for 2023, I plan on doing several more. A couple you probably have seen before that I have done. I'm going to be focusing on some new ones as well. So you're going to see different rail trails in Pennsylvania, including one that's going to pass under a very famous viaduct. So you guys may know what that is, you may not, but you'll see that coming up this year. So with that last crossing we just went through, This is no longer the Upper Bucks Trail, it's now the Saucun Valley Trail. So same rail line essentially, but just known as a different trail name. And we're still headed towards Bethlehem. Now we're not gonna be going all the way there, I don't think. It is quite a ride, and I don't know if the scooters are gonna make it. We don't wanna be pushing it back, but we'll go as far as we can within reason. And of course, along the way, we'll see what else we can find. But so far, it's a great trail. A little bumpy on the scooters, but it's doable. But if you have a mountain bike or any type of bike, especially an e-bike, which I would definitely return to, we can get a lot more distance on that. It'd be very comfortable and doable on that. Further down the line, RJ said we have something interesting coming up. And right here, we have some railings. And this is not a bridge. This is a rather unique culvert. And he did send me a picture of this a while back, but now I'm going to be seeing it for the very first time. And already it stands out from other ones because it's kind of a funnel shape. It's narrow there and gets wider over here, like the mouth of it here. So let's check it out in more detail and see what it's all about. I think it goes up. I almost went down. I hope he did. I believe it went under the rail line, he said. Oh, wow. Now this is pretty neat. So this is essentially like a waterfall of sorts when it would rain. There's water down there now. It is completely made out of stone. There's ladder rungs there, and it would go under the rail line as a stone culvert. I mean, you could essentially crawl through it if it was dry, but it has a couple feet of water down there. But that is really neat. This is my first culvert of this style I've ever seen, but this could handle large amounts of water. Essentially it would fill up in here and make its way through, and we'll show the other side in just a moment. But really, really neat. And of course, saturated with some of the nature's carpet down here. Culvert's over there. Found a plate right here. This is from the actual rail line. They'd appreciate seeing this. So we're going to walk down here and show you what the other side of the culvert looks like. Now that gentleman who is talking to RJ is actually a local and really knowledgeable, and I'm going to share some information that he told us about the rail line here and other things. But let's safely get down here and take a look at this. Now this side's not as impressive at all. So yeah, that's it. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and that's where we were looking down, and the water does come through here and just flows out. Looks like some marshland there, some cattails and stuff right next to this. I guess that's a business that's processing lumber, making firewood of sorts. So myself and RJ, primarily RJ, I was just listening. We're talking to a gentleman. He's a local here. His name's Frank. So Frank, if you happen to watch this, nice to meet you. Thanks for the information. So he actually shared a lot of good details about where we're at here. So first off, for starters, this was actually a double main line, as we confirmed, but there's actually a third line kind of over here off to the side. It was a holding siding, and actually went back to kind of where the fence line is back there. Went for, you know, a little bit of a distance, but a holding siding is not anything significant. It's more or less just used to hold cars out to the side for impeding train traffic. Also, SEPTA ran in this area up until the 70s, and then Conrail ran freight here up until the 80s. So we got some more details that I didn't know already prior to me doing any research or sharing websites with you guys. But double main line, a holding siding in this particular area, and the culvert here has been around since at least the 30s, he believes. And as I showed, there's a little dam in front of it. There's actually another one behind me here about 20 feet. And they were dual purpose. It's number one is to control the flow, to slow it down so it's not coming in like a torrent of water. And also it collects silt, so it kind of works almost like a weir. W-E-I-R. I actually featured one of those on my channel earlier this year, or last year I should say, and it's a desilting basin where it collects the silt and keeps the water clean. And that's essentially what this is here. The silt will collect on the bottom, water will go over the dam, through the culvert, under the rail line, and down the channel there. So really neat to learn that. It was just luck of the draw that he was walking by here. He's curious what we're doing. We got to talking, and he shared an abundance of information. So that was just the stuff I wanted to share with you on the spot, since we got it shared with us just now. But again, I will try to provide even more information for you down below in the description. But yeah, the culvert, this is one of a kind for me. I've never seen one like that before. And thanks to RJ for pointing it out, and thanks to Frank for giving us more details about it. So we just rode down what is known as the boardwalk, because that's pretty much what it is. It's almost like a little wooden bridge, but more so resembles a boardwalk. And this was created because there's actually an echo with the bridge here. This is almost like wetlands here now. So the rails would have been directly underneath us here. And there's evidence of that because the tides are still here, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. But over time, landscape changed and water was just coming through and became too much to maintain on the actual ground itself. So they built this elevated boardwalk, which keeps you high and dry essentially. But right down here is the ties, even with some plates and spikes. So they're looking at one set of lines right here, and then the other side. So this was still a double line at this point. Yep, it's still here.
And the ballast.
Yep, ballast, ties. So it's all getting kind of reclaimed by nature. It's slowly covering it, but it's all wet and swampy, and there is active water flowing as we speak. You can see it right here. But it's great that they created this so that way you're not going through getting yourself all wet and muddy. Also, it's stopping them from having to do constant maintenance and upkeep. They built this and it's basically good to go. All right, we got another placard here. Trains, tracks in the Triassic world. That's one of the things that Frank was telling us. There's dinosaur footprints, fossils that were here that someone have taken. But there's actually pictures of them here documenting that. But like I mentioned before, I'll take a picture of this. If you want to pause it and read it, you're welcome to. But I do like that they do incorporate some information both from the prehistoric times to the rail times to modern day. We're approaching our next crossing. We stopped just before it because right here off to the side we spotted this building, and it definitely resembles something that was serviced by rail, and it appears to be a type of freight house or depot. Rails are basically right in line with it here, and there is this little, oh, it's a, what is this here? Oh, it actually goes down inside of it. Yes, I was right. They could have dumped material down here, possibly even coal, and there was a basement to it. And then we do have these sliding barn doors, so maybe, I don't know how it would have worked, but those slid open. Looks like it would have been serviced by rail, but then they have this here, which this is just a tin roof. It's hollow under here, so they could have maybe dumped coal down here, but it's basically right in line with the rail line itself. And I don't know if this is an abandoned building or not. I'm going to try to get confirmation of that. There are some boarded up windows. There's also some holes in some of the parts of it, but it is right here, close proximity. See an open window up there. It's like a semi-modern door. It was all glass. It's busted out now. It's boarded up behind it. And then we come over here. And this is also in the town of Coopersburg. So we traveled some distance and we're now here at Coopersburg, and I'm getting tangled up. Oh, okay. There's rails here. Yeah, I was right. They dumped coal. How neat is that? They got a big bump stop right here.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And yeah, the loaded coal cars that come right on top of here and back where he showed, dumped down into the basement. Yeah, I don't know if it's an active building or not, so I'm not going to go any further, but I just wanted to document this. This is really neat though. You can see how the rails just kind of are bent and locked up in place here. Big wooden blocks with the plate.
So if you want to get a closer look at what he's looking at.
Pretty neat though. So it just goes to show that, you know, you keep your eyes peeled, as I always say, and something that looks like it's rail related oftentimes is. And this was the type of freight house / depot that had coal deliveries here. So there would have been a spur line that came off the main line and dumped down into the pit here. So here's the building from the other side. That is too cool. Wow. It looks like it is owned by someone. There's materials under there, so it's not abandoned. It's just in poor disrepair, but 100% was used by the rail lines. And we believe it's a combination of boxcar deliveries and coal deliveries as well. So the last footage you saw was us checking out the coal dump area of that old freight station depot area. That was in Coopersburg, right? So right after that, we decided we're going to stop into town, get some lunch. We went to the local Burger King, which we were not sure if it was actually open. There was no cars in the parking lot. It was actually kind of dim on the inside, but it was open. We were the only ones in there for a while. And it was stuck in the 80s. It had all pastel colors. It had the old fountain machine compared to the new soda looking machine where you could customize your flavors. And we grabbed some lunch there, kind of recouped a little bit. Came down the trail further from that direction, and we are going to end here because number one, both of our scooters are down to 3 bars. So as far as we came, we have to go all the way back. Number two, we're losing daylight too. So if we kept going, we'd be in trouble one way or the other. But we were talking later this year, some point, we're going to come back on our e-bikes and actually ride from where we started all the way down to Bethlehem Steel. And we're going to stagger our vehicles so we could ride one way, drive back on the other. And the bikes will be much more capable, not only for this terrain, but for the distance as well. So you will see us again in the future, sometime during this year, back on the Upper Bucks Rail Trail / Saucon Rail Trail. Saucon. By the end of this video, I hopefully will get it right. Saucon Rail Trail. Okay. that being said, I just want to say that, number one, I want to thank RJ for inviting me on this. He did mention this trail to me before, and we finally got to do it. Alan was supposed to join us too, because he actually has one of my scooters now. He bought the Varla Pegasus, but his plans didn't work out for having availability, but hopefully he could come out in the future. But I was thinking on my ride out here that we've seen numerous people walking and biking on the trail, and I bet you majority of them don't even realize the history that can be found just off to the side of it. You know, we're finding ruins, we're finding all unique, interesting things. Most people probably either turn a blind eye to it or don't even know what they're looking at. Where us, we focus on that stuff. We try to find the hidden items that are kind of hiding in plain sight and bring them to your attention and let you know what to expect if you ever do maybe come to this area and want to do these rail trails. So, as mentioned, I love these rail trails. I'm going to be doing a lot more of them this year. The Highboy S2 Pro, this is my first time on it since my trip to Pittsburgh back in September with Matt, and it's been doing good. I love having the seat. It's a nice, comfortable ride, and I'm going to be looking forward to doing a lot more trails on the e-bikes especially, including the one that goes under that viaduct I told you about. But nothing else beyond that. You guys will have to wait and see. All you have to do is check the rail trail playlist down below, and don't forget, you can always subscribe to his channel, which most of you already are.
Old trusty here.
Yeah, he's got his Highboy too, which he loves. And these are just a blast to have adventures on with places like this. So enough of me rambling. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Any feedback you want to share, welcome to do so down in the comments section. And as promised, I will put links for you guys down below with more history related to the area that we're at today. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks again to RJ. And as always, we'll see you in the next video.